Ed here with a Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my full review, the digitally digested segment, for the Andycine A6 Plus. Now, this 5.5-inch field monitor is touchscreen, which in my opinion is one of its biggest advantages. Of course, pricing is the other. At $229 US, this is nearly impossible to beat. Build quality is solid. Just a quick tour. I have it right now sitting on my A6500, focused, as you may have noticed, on two cameras, the RX100 Mark V and 6, and I should have the RX100 Mark 7 here soon. But all that aside, just giving you a quick look at what the profile looks like. I am using the included battery, that is, if it comes with one, because some people have reported getting a battery as well as a carry case and charger. In my case, it did not include a battery, charger, carry case. So if you get one, consider yourself fortunate. Either way, the important part is you're getting this monitor. And as you already noticed, the touchscreen is what it's all about. Now, 1200 is your resolution, 1980 by 1200. You have an SD card slot right here at the bottom in order to import your own 3D LUTs, a DC input, which in terms of location, the bottom isn't the best, a quarter 20 right here, headphone jack for monitoring. This does also take Canon batteries, not just Sony NP, for those of you that are wondering. On the left side, we have our HDMI in, which is presently in use, of course, and HDMI out. And then last but not least, DC out in the event that you want to actually power other devices using the battery that you have on board. But the larger the battery gets, the more difficult that is going to be. On the top of the monitor, we have our menu rocker. If you decide not to use the touchscreen to jump through the menus, you can use that to cycle through. And then, of course, the power button on the left, and that also doubles as your touch control enable and disabler in the event that you do not want to risk anything. The arm that you see is included. It's a good arm. This is something that Andycine includes with pretty much all of their budget monitors, and it's perfectly fine. It's a workhorse. It does give you the ability to position it any way that you could possibly want, so that's definitely a good thing. Now, with all that said, let's get right back into what this thing can actually do. So, it also does have the ability for firmware updates. I haven't gotten one, but I know they've updated it because when they first launched this, it didn't have the ability to do the pinch to zoom that I just demonstrated. So a double tap brings up your menu system, which you can see right here on the left, and we can just dive right into that. You can see immediately we have the ability to turn the histogram on or off, focus assist on or off, your focus level, focus color. So, I mean, all of these things are, thought it was one, yeah, there we go, sorry, a little bit of a brain fart. One touch to take away the menu, double touch to bring it back. All of these things seem to work fairly well. I'm going to go ahead and give you a tighter shot of the monitor. Excuse the glare, it is a reflective display. The only downside to this field monitor is that its brightness is about, I think it's between 450 and 500 nits, so for outdoor use, you are going to want to use this included sunshade. This isn't it isn't bright enough to be a bona fide outdoor monitor without a sunshade. A lot of monitors these days are. I think Andycine also makes some that are. This just isn't it. But if I were to compare it at all to the A6 Lite, it destroys it. I mean, yes, the A6 Lite is less expensive, but I have absolutely no reason to send any of you towards the A6 Lite as opposed to something where you can jump into the menu so easily. And as I mentioned, you do have the ability up at the top to cycle through these menus, which is going to give you even quicker access to all of the features. So I was taking you through. They also, of course, have an audio meter, and that's nice to have on board as well. So if you actually need that, if you don't have an audio meter on camera, they've built it in for you. Most cameras that you would use with a field monitor generally do, but just another point of reference. Other things to be aware of inside at least our first group of settings, you have zebra capability as well, which is expected, and it works. It's not perfect, but it works. Go ahead and bring the menu back up. I don't think there was too much else to talk about. False color, that's kind of a given. You know, I think that's something that you expect on any of these monitors. And it's here. It works. Is it perfect? No, but very good for the price point. And again, that's what this monitor is all about. So let me go ahead and back out of that, forgetting as usual to double tap. Return is the next feature there. So safety marker, center marker. This is good that they've got it. I do not, unfortunately, see any rule of thirds grid, which I would have liked to. That would have been really nice to have. I mean, that to me is a critical thing to have in a setup like this. No question about it. Let me get rid of the false color because we don't really need that on for the premise of this video. But again, Andycine has pretty much covered everything, and if this fits your budget at $229 US, if the 5.5-inch profile is what you need, if you need the ability to capture 4K out of it, you can do that and record it, which I think is very nice, or throw it to another monitor. And even though you're seeing it flash 1080p, of course, this does accept a 4K signal as well as output a 4K signal. It has that looping ability. It simply isn't a 4K display. So moving along, what else did I miss there? Nothing really. So if we jump into this section, the third step in the menu, we've got our scan mode, video aspect. Of course, you can play with the ratio, anamorphic mode, flip if you are, you know, vlogging and you want to actually flip the display, you have that ability. That's something that I think a lot of people want to utilize, and I think this is great for vloggers. I think that's really a solid target audience for Andycine with this. Is it good for filmmaking? Sure, but for vloggers to get this type of field monitor at this price point, touchscreen, 3D LUTs, it's tough to beat. Again, my biggest gripe would be that DC input and headphone jack being at the bottom because, you know, this isn't the traditional way that anyone's going to film. If you're vlogging, though, that won't be a problem, the fact that they're there. If you're using a cage, it likely won't be a problem either. Let's jump back in here. So zoom times, you've got freeze, pixel to pixel. Then, of course, you can get into your actual fidelity of the display. So if you want to play with color temperature, your LUT import, your LUT switch, backlight level, brightness level, contrast, saturation, they're all there. If I bring, the menu does time out on its own after, I think, 3 seconds. It may have been 5. If I bring the brightness up to 100%, it's going to do it in steps. You will see it is substantially brighter, but blown out as a result as well. So that's part of the trade-off here. If you're going to pump up the brightness, that's generally not how I would be using it, but just wanted to give you an idea. I'll also pump up the backlight. I mean, overall, it's just a really solid monitor, and that's what's great about it, because this years ago was an impossibility, and you know, with a product like this, you for $160 now, you've got a very good field monitor, but this is really the next logical step if you don't need something larger. And there are competitors making very similar products, no question about it, but I think Andycine has continued to roll things out in a fairly fast fashion. They're being aggressive. I like that. Of course, here, wheel, we've got the backlight, language, transparency, your OSD time, it's 15 seconds, volume set to 94, reset, firmware update, and hopefully they are going to update. I mean, again, I mentioned it appears that the firmware already was updated because we are looking at a monitor that does have the ability to pinch to zoom, something that out of the box in initial tests just did not exist. And that's really my favorite feature here, besides 3D LUTs, is that you're able to just jump in, zoom into any detail, make sure that you have what you want in focus, and again, all for $229 US. Runtime with the included battery, being that it is not a highly rated battery, is not amazing, but it's, you know, that's if it's included. But that's easily remedied. You can go out and get a larger battery. You can purchase something like, you know, the the next that I showed not too long ago in an unboxing. So if you want something like this, it's going to add a lot of heft to your setup, but you know, you're moving from a little over 2,000 milliamp hours to over 6,000, and that's going to make a world of difference. But that pretty much rounds it out. Again, I really like what Andycine has done here with the A6 Plus. This is definitely going to be my go-to. I did just pick up another monitor, the Aperture 7-inch display, which is a much older piece of hardware, no touchscreen, but I don't really realistically see it competing with what we're looking at here. So again, I like what Andycine has done. The price is right, the performance is solid, and I think you will be hard-pressed to find anything else in its class and price point that delivers on all of these features. Engineering-wise, there is some room for improvement, but that's what new models are all about. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.